You don't love the narcissist. You know, you don't love the narcissist. I'm willing to bet that 80% of us who call ourselves truth tellers or scapegoats or however you choose to describe yourself in the dynamic in which you are systematically abused and triangulated against your siblings and blamed for everything. I'm willing to bet that about 80 to 85% of us don't truly love our narcs or the people in our lives who act as narcs, okay? Because we don't want to own that. Why do I say this? In addition to being a content creator, I also look at, a lot of, other content creators' work. It's inspiring. I get to learn. I get to help myself heal. I listen to them for the same reasons that maybe many of you listen to me, which I'm very humbled and appreciative of. And they have this series where they do a series of these like TikToks, and it's like all these people talking about why they cut off their parents and why they did this and why they did that, and you know a lot of them say the same fucking phrase. Oh, I have to love them from a distance. I love my mom, but I gotta love her from a distance. I love my dad, but I gotta love her. You love him, excuse me, from a distance. My question is, really, do you? Do you really love this person, or is that just some shit that we feel like we have to say in order to not seem like a crazy person? Because here's what my mind imagines. People say this, okay, without even examining their feelings and examining the definition of love, which I can concede might mean different things to different people, right? But people just say this shit, just like, I have to love them from a distance. Tell me this. How do you have love for someone you don't ever want to be around, because to be around them would be to put yourself at risk? How do you have love for someone who won't even say fucking sorry to you? How do you have love for someone who abused you when you were a baby, abused you when you were a child, abused you when you were a teenager, abused you when you were a young adult, and on and on and on? How do you have love for someone who chose the most vulnerable period in your life, childhood, to take out all their existential bullshit and their pain and their failures and their twisted sexuality and all that shit out on you? How do you love that person? Or is that just something you can say so you seem like very even keeled and oh no, I'm not just some angry person who, whatever, doesn't love my mom. I love my mom. I'm still an acceptable person. I just never ever want to see her again or be in her presence. And when she dies, I won't care. But I love my mom. I just have to love her from a distance. Here's my contention. Stop saying shit you don't mean. You don't love your narc. I can't speak for all of you. Actually, I can't speak for any of you. But this is my impression. You don't love this motherfucker because they don't love you. It's not intelligent to love someone who does not love you. And this is where I'm going to give religion a good kick in the ass again. That turn your other cheek, love your neighbor, love your enemy. You can love your neighbor, but love your enemy and all this other bullshit. That means you get punched in the face and punched in the face and punched in the face and punched in the face. And then you feel bad for being like, fuck, my face has been punched a whole lot. And you feel like you somehow failed by noticing how this person is harming you, because once you notice how this person is harming you, you feel a natural sense of indignation at the fact that this person keeps fucking harming you. And then you blame yourself, and so you silence yourself, and so you push the pain down, so the depression rises, so you become weaker, so you allow yourself to be fucked with even more. This is how we delay our healing, by lying to ourselves. I'll tell you this. Any love I had from my mother, okay, was systematically abused out of me. That bears repeating. Any love I had from my mother was systematically, okay, abused out of me. Okay, the child I was was a child who was very kind-hearted, very empathetic. People throw around the term empath. I don't like to, I already am suspicious of the word narcissist now, but people throw around the term empath all the time. But based on the general definition, you could say that I was one. Okay, as a kid. Certainly not anymore as an adult. I mean, I can feel people's emotions and all that, but I think that's just called being a human being. But I was extremely sensitive, extremely compassionate, and my mom was more often than not sick, and I would end up being the one making dinner for her, cutting up food for her, taking care of her. Just basically, I was parentified, right? So think about having a sweet kid like that. I can take myself out the situation now and see that I was a sweet kid. My narc tried to fucking convince me I was a horrible kid, but looking back now as an adult, who can look at this thing objectively, because I'm out of my childhood. I'm out of my the danger zone. I could see, you know what? That was a super sweet little kid. That was a kind little kid, maybe a little bit precocious, maybe a little bit of a smart ass, but overall a pretty kind, nice, gentle, compassionate kid. And that was preyed upon. That was not appreciated. That was not something that was welcome. That was not something that was looked at like, wow, I have a good kid. It was used against me. It was a dinner bell that was rung, for a ravenous lion kind of a thing. And so when you think of that and you think of how your goodness is targeted and how the pain just, stacks up on top of each other, all the slights, all the lies, the triangulation, okay, the inappropriate sexual behavior in front of me, okay, the throwing the house into financial disarray, the not keeping the house up well, the lying behind my back, the turning the whole family against me. I'm growing up and this shit is happening every day. Nag that, bitch that, every day. Couldn't wake up to a happy day, a sunny day. There's a whole lot of this, a whole lot of that. As that goes on, okay, and I'm sure many of you scapegoats can relate, you feel less and less and less and less and less love. I found myself going from being a kid that just couldn't wait to see mommy, like most kids feel, to being like 11, 12, and being like, oh God, this bitch is home now. This bitch is home now. Let me go invent something that I have to do specifically in my room so I can get away from this bitch. She's home. It's going to be a problem. Whatever happened at her job, when she did have a job, which was very infrequent, but whatever happened at her job will be taken out on me, I guarantee that. Let me get away from this bitch. Is there an extra credit project I can go do at the library? Is there something I can do so I can get away from this bitch? It became that. From 5 years old and adoring this person to like a preteen and my skin crawling. When you hear the key in the front fucking door, like, God damn, what's it gonna be today? What the fuck is it gonna be today? Okay, I'm repeating myself. But I didn't go no contact till I was about 37. Okay? I'm 40 now. So you got to think of the gradation and the slow reduction of love, the slow reduction of feelings of love for this person. Long story short, I had to finally accept, and this was actually even after no contact, because even when I went no contact, I was doing that bullshit thing that everybody does and lying to themselves, saying, I love her, but, I just can't help her and I can't be around her and she makes me feel bad and it's not a good situation and I need to prioritize my mental health and, she's triangulated people against me and she will do it again and blah, blah, blah. But I love her. And I finally had to look at myself in the mirror and take a good hard look at my true feelings and intentions. I'm like, you don't want to be around this bitch. Get away from me, fly. You don't want to be around this bitch. You don't want to talk to this bitch. The bitch offered you money. You turned it down. Okay? You've gotten to the point to where if somebody somehow contacted you, because I've changed my number and I've not given my new number out to my family, if she happened to pass away, not only would I not attend the funeral, I don't think I would give too much of a fuck. Okay, that's where I'm at with it. That's where I'm at with it. And when I looked at that and I went down the checklist of what love means to me, there was nothing in those feelings that I just said that was on that checklist of love. What is love? As I said, it can mean different things to different people, but I think the core of love is selfless. I think love is, I care so much for this person that I would sacrifice myself for this person. You know, the last true feeling of love I had was for the last serious relationship I was in, which was a few years ago. And I love this girl, you know, to the points where I would have stood in front of a moving train for her. I would have stood in front of a charging bull for her. Okay, I would have done anything to protect her from anything that could have possibly harmed her. Okay, I would have broken my back just to take care of her. All right. And on some level, I think she felt the same way. I found out she had some narcissistic characteristics too. But she was a good person and a kind person. And to the extent that we were both able, because we were both healing from being very much abused as kids, we were in love and we loved one another. And I already know romantic love is different than familial. But I think at the core of it, love is love. And if you're a parent, shouldn't that be the same, that you would sacrifice yourself for your child? I mean, that actually more so. More so. Because if you have a romantic partner, you're both adults. This is a child. This is the most vulnerable fucking being in the world. This is somebody who absolutely needs you. Absolutely needs your time, your attention, your guidance, your compassion. You should want to sacrifice yourself for that person. You should want to sacrifice, okay, I want a man and I want this and I want that. But if I'm not in a good place with my children, that needs to wait. You know, I might want to sue everybody in the world like my mother does and try to get some sort of $1 million settlement, which, you know, she never got because she ain't the sharpest tool in the shed, right? But I think it would be more important for me to maintain a job, do well at that job, hopefully move up so that we can stay financially stable in this house. Okay? In this house, we need financial stability. Why? Because I have children. Why? Because children can't work and they are relying on me. That's what you do. You might sacrifice, I gotta move, you know, your own interest because you love this child. My mom didn't do any of the above. My mom prioritized money, her pussy, and materialism over her children every step of the way. So where's the love? Where's the love in that? How is there love in that? How is there love in a situation where everything is about you? Those of us who are scapegoats, why are we mostly no contact? Think about it. Why are we mostly no contact? We're mostly no contact because we're dealing with a person who prioritized themselves every step of the way. Even when we grew up and said, you know what, we need to talk about this shit. We need to have a powwow. We got to sit down and talk eye to eye because this has affected me. This has hurt me. This was your behavior. I was an innocent child. I was vulnerable. I want to talk about this shit. And do you know what most of us got? We got blown off. We've got basically told to go fuck ourselves. Okay? In no uncertain terms. Go fuck yourself. You do not matter. I do not care if I have the responsibility of being your caretaker or if I had that responsibility. It's about me. It will never be about you. Now let's sweep this under the rug and keep this dysfunctional, toxic relationship going because it's going to benefit me. I don't care if it hurts you. Where is the love in that? And if there is no love in that, how can you reciprocate? You can't reciprocate what isn't there. You cannot reflect, something when there's no object in the mirror. Okay, there's no reflection if there's no object in the mirror. There's no reciprocation for love that does not exist. It bears repeating. So how do you sit there and say, once again, so you could see him, even killed and not an extremist, that I love this person? You do not. I guarantee you 85% of you do not. I'm not going to say all. I'm not God. I don't get to tell people how they feel about things. But I have impressions. And I really do think you delay your healing when you lie to yourself. I don't love my mom. I don't. I tried. I tried to look at nuance, and I tried to take into account she was born in the 60s, and things were bad, and there was a lot of racial prejudice, and she saw a lot of things growing up, and she was touched inappropriately as a child, and blah 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 blah. And she went through this and she went through that, and she lost my father, and then but even within that, I had to finally get to the point where I was like, yeah, I don't give a fuck. You shouldn't have done that to me. You shouldn't have done that to me. What happened to you shouldn't have been done to you. And if she had been smart, she would have gotten no contact with my grandma. I loved my grandma, but a lot of narcs are good to their grandkids and horrible to their children. Okay? If my mom was smart, she would have realized my grandmother was a bitch. My grandmother, okay, an educated woman, a good woman, okay, in some senses, but she had 9 children by multiple baby daddies. She brought people in the house that sexually abused her daughters. She brought people in the house that beat her to the ground in front of her children, knocked her front teeth out. She had dentures by the time she was in her 30s. She was an idiot. She was an idiot in many regards. She was a ghetto ratchet fucking stereotype in many regards. You would never know once she hit them 60s and 70s, because everything becomes upright and presentable then. But she was a problem, and she produced a problem. And had my mom realized, you know what, I don't love this bitch, she would not have subjected herself to so much, nightmarish bullshit, and maybe she wouldn't have turned into this bitter, wanton, slutty, irresponsible, socially awkward, entirely selfish person. It's okay to not love people who attack you. It's okay to not love people who cause you to not love them. I think we're born with a sense, we're born with a feeling of attachment to people, right? Because it's evolution. If you're a baby and you're not attached to your parent and following your parent around, guess what? You're going to wander off and get eaten by a saber-toothed tiger. That's Mother Nature. That's not necessarily love. That's survival. I say all this to say, when we're honest with ourselves, we can free ourselves. I don't love my brother. I do not love my mother. Both of them have gone out of their way to show me that I don't qualify as a person that should be treated with respect, that I am a person that should be listened to, that I am a person that's, worth anything. So do I love them? No. And they don't love me. And the sooner they realize that, they can break free of their bullshit and look at themselves in the mirror and maybe give love to people that they feel deserve it. And as for me, I get to let go of this sense of obligation, this sense of this societal thing that says I have to say these 4 letters to these people who don't fucking deserve it. You don't love the narcissist. You stop saying that shit, because you don't.